Ultimate Men's Movement with our host, Dr. Jack Rocco. Dr. Jack, how are you? And I know you're very excited about our guest today.
Oh, I am, yeah, and I'm very excited about how the men's clinic is. We're cranking. I'm here, and we got the girls working and putting the pieces together. Not 100% assembled, but really good stuff going on here, and I'm excited to share it. And I told John about it a little bit. Our guest today is John Sanders. I met John when I was working with Sono Bello. He is a leadership coach. He was senior vice president of operations with Sono Bello, which is a huge organization. I don't know how big they were when you started, John, but right now Sono Bello has over 100 centers across the country, some of them surgical, some of them just consultation centers, but I'm an orthopedic surgeon by trade, and I learned about Sono Bello, and they had opportunities for training and to expand my skills. So I took advantage of that and was very pleased with the company and the results. They're known for their 360 laser lipo procedure, which is just the fat sucking, but they also do a procedure called the ABEX, ABEX, which is a skin removal procedure, which is, I would say, better or at least different from a traditional tummy tuck. A tummy tuck technically involves the muscle layers, whereas the Abby X is just a skin procedure. And you can look on Sono Bello's website, and we all have our before and after pictures. But anyway, so John helped me with some of the leadership elements of that while I was working there and respected him. And then I've recently moved on to do the men's clinic and get back in a little ortho. John reached out to me asking if I wanted some continued leadership training. We all need that. And I was talking to you earlier, Neil, us guys from Pittsburgh, we're passionate. We got to get to see the Stillers. We got to get to the game. We're in a
Yeah.
hurry. We got to go. But in leadership, there needs to be an element of patience and kindness and softness, which is something that I think not just Pittsburgh guys, but a lot of guys are challenged by. We get in that fight flight mode. We get in that, I got to go, I got 1,000 things. And sometimes you need to go slow to go fast. And you need to think and you need to watch your words and you need to display those elements of leadership that we all inherently respond to. And I'm taking up too much of John's time already, but these are the things that I learned from John, and I hope he's somewhat pleased with his student. But I'd like to welcome John Sanders as a former senior vice president of operations at Sono Bello. Now he's doing a coaching, consulting. Would you consider it coaching? That would be your.
Yeah, that's fairly accurate. Mostly coaching with a little bit of consulting added in. Yes, pretty accurate there. Thank you, Dr. Rocco, and thank you, Neil, for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. When I talked to Dr. Rocco the other day, I was fascinated with the whole men's clinic idea, which I think is phenomenal and a real, certainly needed opportunity for men to get involved and work together and get have discussions and whatnot. And coaching, I thought this is a great opportunity to talk a little bit about coaching and what coaching can do for men, not only men, but obviously in this case, we're talking men. So, yeah,
Yeah,
good to be
John,
here.
it really is. Our fields there's definitely a lot of cross interactions between the two. I can't just walk into a room and bark and yell as orthopedic surgeons do. It's and especially with female patients. But if female or male, you got to encourage them. You got to say, you know what, that cheeseburger may not be the best thing right now. Or are you following your instructions? Or how did you get into coaching from, I'm sure, like I said, there's definitely crossovers, but I guess after you retired from Sono Bello, how did you get involved in the coaching? What brought you to that?
It was a long journey, let me tell you that. It wasn't something that was easy to do because I'm a passionate individual like you too, and I'm not from Pittsburgh, but I was a military brat who traveled the world with my father and had to adjust to different situations and learning how to fend for yourself and be proactive and getting to know people as well as adjusting and then having to say goodbye and move to the next location after maybe 2 years on average. So I took that energy and that resilience and I applied it to growing up and going to school and getting into the frying pan, so to speak, of business and worked my way up in several different niches, business sectors and nonprofit. And I ended up spending a couple of years in Vietnam as a country director for a nonprofit, which was fascinating and also culturally very, it definitely expanded my understanding of,
Eye-opening, yeah.
yeah, it was eye-opening. And I've traveled, my wife and I travel quite a bit, and she is a coach. So as I went through, climbed the ladder and became an executive, she had my back, so to speak, and I'd confer with her on, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. And she taught me exactly what you talked about in regards to yourself, and that is in my coaching, is how to slow down, how to not go try to fix everything you have to deal with, because that's the way you're geared. It's something that you're facing, an issue, a problem, an emergency, whether you're a physician or an executive or just anybody really, your left brain kicks in and it's survivor brain. And it's how do I fix this and remove the danger or remove the negative of the situation. Yeah, so she got me to slow down. Some of it was obviously just growing up and maturing, but and she got me into coaching, and
You haven't grown up on us, have you,
I
John?
no, I certainly have a ways to go with that one. But to some degree, I have at least grown older, if not more mature. But anyway, I was with Sono Bello, and we were growing as you mentioned, growing the business. And back in 2016, and of the 4 years I was the VP of Ops, we grew it to double the size, which means double the problems, double the issues, whatnot. And then COVID came along. So during COVID, she said, you really need to think about maybe the future and doing something you really enjoy. And you enjoy people, you enjoy leading people and helping people. And you should try what I'm doing, which is, and she was an executive coach, a life coach, and had been for a few years. And so I said, okay, I'll give it a try. And I got certified in a couple of different levels of coaching. And I found that it was extremely rewarding. So I transitioned out of Sono Bello. Actually, a lot of my clients, like yourself, were Sono Bello executives, Sono Bello physicians, and whatnot, and emerging leaders. And I found that I love this more than I ever loved being in the hot seat as an executive. This is extremely rewarding and it's a lot of fun. And I enjoy helping people. And that's the key, to be able to understand slowing down, like you said, and
Yeah, and
really,
especially when you're dealing with, like you said, you're dealing at that level, those executive levels. These guys didn't get there by being sissies and pansies. They've had
Right.
some struggles, some survival techniques that they've had to endure. And then at some point, I can say for myself, I grew up humble beginnings, and next thing you know, you look in the mirror and you're like, I'm the leader here. I
right.
can't do the same stuff as the leader, even if I don't necessarily look at myself in that role. So some of it, I think, is really identifying, allowing the person to identify who they are in this position and to refocus on what's that phrase? There's like an African phrase. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. What do you find about that? It's like I said, especially coaching these physicians and higher functioning, higher level executives. How do you approach that? How do you humble these guys that are big egos?
Number one, you appreciate what they brought to the table to begin with. And whether it's a physician or a president of an organization. And you've got to honor that because that obviously, like you said, that got them where they are. What you have to build is trust. And trust is the key in developing that strong connection and being able to have them then realize, okay, I'm really good. I'm good in many respects. I've been a terrific leader, terrific business person, terrific physician. And now I'm in a position where I'm in leadership and I'm influencing others. So how can I maximize those things I brought to the
Mm.
table, all those characteristics, all those strengths, and have a stronger impact, not only on myself, but on those that I influence, whether it's professionally or in their home life or in the community.
Yeah.
And so we start looking at what those strengths are, what the saboteurs are, what are those characteristics maybe limit their ability to be as influential in a positive way as they can. And we start digging deeper. So it's a lot of questions, it's a lot of understanding where they came from, where they are, and where they want to go. What do they want to
Okay.
do when they grow up, so to speak? So
Yeah, and like you said, your mission statement that you sent me prior to this, I think summarizes it well. You have 4 points of focus that you talk about that I think we can all relate to as areas we need for improvement or areas we know we need to focus to get us to that next level. Do you want to go over those 4 points that you?
Yes, I appreciate that. No, they're especially with leaders, the 4 points are definitely understanding burnout and fatigue and what that looks like, how they're dealing with it, and how they can overcome it. And so we can, and this is primarily with, especially true with physicians, with what they're dealing with, and certainly from a patient level, satisfaction level, and associate level or colleague level, and dealing with administrators, et cetera. And then developing their leadership skills. What areas do they want to work on? Maybe they have a difficult time dealing with negative discussions or confrontation. Maybe they have a hard time building their team, whatever that looks like, really working on those individual leadership skills as they see the need for. And overcoming self doubt, we all have a level of imposter syndrome. Am I really as good as my title says I am in the right position? Should I be doing what I'm doing? Am I good enough? And so overcoming that and understand that everybody's got imposter syndrome to some level. It's how you can leverage those feelings and leverage your strengths to overcome some of that anxiety. And then enhancing relationships and teamwork. So both professionally and from a personal standpoint, is how do you put yourself in a position by understanding others, how you look at others, empathy, certainly, to be able, without losing your identity. One of the things I think a lot we've talked about is men tend to lose their identity in an effort to please others.
And that's not a leader.
That's
That's
not a leader.
no. And I wanted to continue this conversation because that's the biggest problem. Yes, you can work really well on your own, doctors, certain leaders, but once they have to leader and edify and build relationships with everyone on the team so they perform so well, it's so difficult for certain people that are just not closed-minded, but have just never really looked at a team aspect and how they've worked so hard to get to the level that they are. Relating with others, having other people reach to that highest level is very challenging.
And I think it's hard also, Neil, to piggyback off that. Once you've obtained that level, especially if you got there under a good deal of survival skills, you're just trying to survive till the next day. You're not really sure what the hell it is that you're doing until you look back at it in retrospect. You're like, yeah, I was a little bit of a pain in the ass sometimes, but then I usually apologized. I was a good guy it's like I bought him lunch. I yelled at him and then bought him subs afterwards. That relationship is a nice thing. And now, John, like since we are a men's clinic, and I find this to be very true. Of course, I'm handing you a leading question here, but go over so when you're dealing with physicians, high level, but also like men versus women. And I find there's just inherent differences with men versus women. And when I was in the service, I was in Japan, and I appreciate your time overseas. That really gives you a different perspective on the world when you see all the differences, especially Asia. You see all the difference, you see all the poverty. But then eventually once you get used to that, all those differences, it all washes away and you realize that they're the same as we are. The things are the same. The differences fall out and the humanity comes out. But my neighbor was a school counselor and we would go for jogs. And I swear to God, he was probably one of my best therapists, but he wasn't my therapist. But he told me, he said, if I'm doing counseling with a girl, I'll bring her into my office. We'll sit there. We'll give her some coffee or water, and we'll have a nice chat about everything that's going on. If you bring a boy into that same scenario, he's all closed down. He's defensive. What did I do wrong? What trouble am I in? What are you going to do to me? I didn't mean it. It wasn't my fault. There's this defensive posture. And he said, if you want to get to a boy, just grab a basketball and go to the gym and just start dribbling around, just start throwing some hoops, go for a jog like he was doing with me. Like we'd have these big conversations while we're running, talking about all these feelings. Do you find a similar thing with, I said, when you and I counseled, I got stuff to do. I don't want to sit here. How do you feel that plays out in reality when counseling men versus women?
Yeah, yeah. So there's an inherent, like you say, there's an inherent difference in how we approach things as a male versus a female. Typically, this isn't always the case, but when I'm coaching a female client, I don't really have to dig very hard, to dig very deep. They will open up a lot easier as long as I've built enough trust and they feel comfortable with me. They will open up and they'll talk to me about problems. They'll cry in front of me. They'll open up and get emotional and get deep. With men, no, not so much. I don't think I've out of probably 400 people that I've coached over the years, I don't think I've had any male actually break down. So it's much more a defensive posture naturally because they're the protector, and so they're protecting themselves, their ego, and so in a lot of cases. They don't really, and they're not sure if they even need to have somebody to talk to. So it's a lot more building that trust connection with a male typically and let him know, hey, it's okay to be to be proud, to have a strong ego, and all those things are valuable assets as with anybody, but especially in the male role, typically, traditionally. It's how do you use that? How do you leverage that to your advantage to become a more effective leader by understanding how more capable you can be with a little bit of an understanding of maybe what more can I do?
Yeah. It
Can I
makes it,
slow down? Can I slow down and really think about where I'm going with this, with my leadership and how I'm influencing people?
and it looks like who you're working with are people that have to have a staff, a team. I think the word leadership, there's so many coaches out there that do individual coaching to work on their entrepreneurship, work on their marketing. But when it comes to leadership, this is not just John going and saying, okay, Dr. Jack, I'm going to just grab you by the horns and that's all I need to do. And you go do it. You have to see how the team is working. You have to observe the entire environment of what's happening because Dr. Jack is just especially if we're talking about his men's clinic, is based on his team. If they're going to have the great customer service, are the men that go that clinic feel great after they come? And then are they getting the biggest thing in 2025 because of how AI has grown, because our competitive advantage has shrunk immensely. Customer service, the one thing that everyone has missed, is going to be one of the number one things to keep from your business growing to your business decreasing. And if you're not having a team that you can keep as your employees happy, healthy, and helping others and feeling good about going to work every day, you're never going to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not about flying solo. It's definitely about how you can utilize every individual that you have on your particular team and connect with them to the point where they'll follow you anywhere, do anything for you. And that's that loyalty factor that trust can give you, which some leaders never get. It's more tell. Hey, I don't need to know anything about your personal life. I don't want to go there. You kind of stay away from that or whatever. It's about expanding those horizons and that understanding of yourself and the people that you're leading.
Yeah, and I think you just struck up another point that, especially as a male leader in this environment nowadays, where everything is sensitive, everything is taboo, doesn't matter what you do, if you burp or fart the wrong way, someone's going to jump on it and you're a narcissist and toxic and all these other things. When you're leading or working with females as a male, as a dominant male, as a loudmouth Pittsburgh cheese fries eating whatever, and now you've got a different environment, maybe a different religion, maybe a different country, someone from a different background as you, that they're not going to get the Seinfeld jokes, or they're not going to get, and now you've never been exposed to that, like someone doesn't know the Seinfeld jokes, grew up.
See, that's going into the whole generational thing, John.
Yeah.
And we could have a multiple topics on the Ultimate Men's Movement podcast based on how do we deal with women? How do we deal with women the right way that they're going to be motivated to work for you if you are in a higher leadership position in a way that doesn't seem condescending, doesn't understand specifically our bedside humor, as you hear about doctors and their bedside humor. And that's the things you do, John. I wish we had a lot more time to talk with John, but Dr. Jack, anything else to add in this conversation? We're really just touching upon what he does, but
Yeah,
it's
I
such
think
a valuable
absolutely
thing what he does.
Yeah, I think, we do quick interviews and we stir interest and then let John take over. You're going to be highlighted on our podcast, on our website. And if guys are interested in this, it's one of those things. I heard an analogy. It's like you've got two dogs, one in the light, one in the dark. Which dog is going to survive? I don't know. The one you feed
Right.
is going to survive.
Exactly.
The one you
Exactly.
feed. And I think it's that same thing. I think it's that if you don't think about it, if you don't think it's a problem, if you don't think that your offhanded jokes are a problem, you're never going to grow. You're never going to thrive. You have to at least be aware that, okay, maybe I'll still tell the bad joke, but I'm going to apologize for it before I do. Something to soften it, to make you human, as opposed to just blurting things out. And I think that's what you do, John. You just help people to see things or to feed things that they didn't necessarily know they weren't feeding. And how do you finish off with that, John? Take it
No, I
from.
think that was very well put, Dr. Rocco. It really is about not losing your identity. It's really about expanding your identity and becoming a better person because of the understanding of other people and yourself and how you react to things versus understand things and be a little bit more open about wanting to grow. And yeah, to your point, I typically will spend about half an hour to an hour before I coach anybody just to get a feel and in terms of understanding where they're coming from, where they want to grow, and if there's a good fit. So it's nothing, it's pretty, I take a very, I think, organic approach to the whole coaching thing. It's
Exactly.
not for everybody, but it's for a lot of us, most of us, in fact.
All right. So, John, where's the best place people can check you out?
SandersCoachingTeam.com. Certainly, that's one place. And then obviously you can reach out to me through Dr. Rocco, and Dr. Rocco has all my information in terms of email address and all that stuff. But yeah, Sanders Coaching Team is a good place to start.
All right, that was the special simulcast. And go to the ultimatemensmovement.com if you're in New Bedford, Massachusetts. But I can't wait to expand and have franchises. I love the name, Dr.
Yeah,
Quack. I think you're on the right track.
I think, yeah, it's like I've been called the spider in a way, just trying to put these people together. But the number of anchor points, if you will, people want to be involved. They're like, that's a great idea. Men do need somewhere to go. And if it's for your sex life, if that's what gets you into the doctor. I had a guy just the other day came in, he's like diabetes. A1C was off the roof, but at least he came here for one thing. We found others.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thank
Okay.
you both.
That was the special simulcast, Neil Haley Show on the Ultimate Men's Movement podcast, guys. Take care.